All right. Well, um, so this episode recap was supposed to come out yesterday. However, though I didn't find the time to really to do it. So now we're doing it on a Thursday night, basically after basically the episode came out. But anyways though, guys, welcome back to yet another Mandalorian episode recap. Today we are going to talk about chapter 19, which has sparked a lot of debate among Star Wars fans and is certainly an episode that I think that a lot of people have said. Even I've seen YouTube titles of, I don't know, some amateur cosplay chick just saying it's the worst episode ever. However, though, really, now here's the thing, though. If you didn't like the episode, that's fine. But saying it's the worst, I think that's really kind of just taking it too far. And quite really, honestly, I think this episode right here is basically what I wanted in the sequel trilogy. Basically, I don't know, you got to give really good big credit to the writers of this episode, which of course is Jon Favreau, and I forget who his co-writer was in this episode. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with my hair. Like literally, I can't do that. I cut it once just so it could be short, but then it just goes out like that. I have no idea why it does that. So if this is a distraction, I'm so sorry. But anyways, though, I was going to just say though here, um, I can feel. I mean, this episode really, I feel like, is sort of an answer to really, I think, a lot of really kind of just the questions we have and questions that I wanted the sequel trilogy to answer. However, they were too busy on wanting to make plot MacGuffins and focusing on Rey's parents so goddamn much, which just derailed the whole entire trilogy. But this isn't about ranting about the sequel trilogy. Excuse me. Let's just get into the episode in hand. So this episode right here picks off basically from the last episode. In the last episode, Bo-Katan discovers a mythosaur underneath the mines of Mandalore and all that sort of stuff. Now, what's going to happen here is that I'm just going to talk about the Mando stuff here pretty quick, and then we'll talk about the Dr. Piercing stuff here in a minute and all that sort of stuff. However, though, let's go ahead and let's just talk about the whole Mando stuff first. So, Bo-Katan, once again, is keeping things to herself, or we don't really know what her intentions are. She does not tell Din Djarin that she saw a mythosaur underneath in the water and all that sort of stuff. And she basically asked Din, hey, did you see something alive down there? And Din's like, no. And then they basically get off of course, Mandalore, and they go back to Bo-Katan's castle on her home planet, and all that sort of stuff, and whatnot, sort of have you. However, though, they are intercepted by TIE interceptors, which we haven't seen since episode 6. Yeah, we haven't seen them in live action since Return of the Jedi, which that's pretty cool and all that sort of stuff. But basically, there are swarms of them fighting and all that sort of stuff. And I just really kind of have to say here, one thing that Mando Season 3, I think, is really going to do really well, and I think it's going to excel well at, is pretty much is the spaceship, or like the starfighter battle scenes and all that sort of stuff. We didn't really have much of that in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, like, at all. However, though, we are getting those types of action scenes here in season 3, which is pretty cool. You have the Mandalorian starfighter that Bo-Katan's piloting, whooping around the mountaintops and all that sort of stuff, while the TIE interceptors are fighting behind her and all that sort of stuff. That's just really damn cool. However, though, I feel like that when it comes to modern day battle scenes, especially when it comes to ones that deal with the characters in, their fighters and all that sort of stuff. X-Wings, TIE fighters. I really do think that they should take some notes from Top Gun Maverick a little bit here. That's just in my honest opinion, in terms of like camera angles and the intensity and all that sort of stuff. But basically what happens though is both Mando and Bo-Katan both take down the TIE interceptors. However, though, it is a distraction as TIE bombers bomb the hell out of Bo-Katan's castle and all that sort of stuff. She wants to go ahead and take all those TIE bombers down. However, though, there are more TIE interceptors coming into the picture, and both Din and Mando have to retreat. And also, I didn't mention this, but Din went down to the ground and got into the N1 Starfighter and all that sort of stuff. So there was that, and they then travel to where the Children of the Watch are currently on right now. Currently on right now, and basically when they arrive, well, let's just say that Paz Vizsla does not really like them showing up and all that sort of stuff, which I just really kind of have to say, what is the deal with the Vizslas always just being assholes or pricks? I mean, god damn it, I have no idea why. I don't know, it's just kind of just like, god damn, dude, chill the F out, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, basically Paz Vizsla basically tells them to fuck off and all that sort of stuff. However, though, what happens really here is that Mando says, hey, bitch, I have proof that I went into the mines of Mandalore in like a little bottle and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, a little Coke bottle here. But basically, so what happens is they go inside the cave, and then he presents it to the armorer. And, well, yeah, it was true. He did go to the mines of Mandalore and did bathe into the living waters, and he's redeemed. And he's welcomed back with open arms and all that sort of stuff. And hell, the armorer also welcomes him, Bo-Katan, into the clan and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Bo-Katan basically accidentally joined a cult. Damn. I mean, your home gets bombed and then you join a cult that you just don't like. Damn. Wow. How the hell does that happen? But anyways, though, that was basically all the Mando stuff right here. Which is a bit of a problem. However, though, I want to go ahead and draw our attention to what was basically the whole episode all about. And this episode is basically focusing on Dr. Piercing, which, if you have no idea who Dr. Piercing is, you probably might have forget about him. But basically, Dr. Piercing was a character that showed up in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. He was the doctor who cared for Grogu and basically was working for the client, and also looked like maybe he was working for Moff Gideon and all that sort of stuff. And hell, he was also used. Yeah, basically, Dr. Piercing helped, of course, Mando, Bo, and Fennec Shand and all those other guys to get to Moff Gideon's ship, or his lightspeed cruiser, at the end of the last season of the last episode of season 2. And yeah, and he was a pretty obscure, or he was just kind of like a little minor character that was just kind of there just to, I guess, really to, really the thing about Dr. Piercing was that you never would have imagined that this character would receive kind of a whole episode to himself, or he would get a lot of in-depth. I did not think they were going to focus on Dr. Piercing so much. But anyways, though, let's kind of go ahead and talk about Dr. Piercing here for a bit. So, what it looks like, he's basically been accepted. He has a new job in the New Republic. He basically, basically renounces, the Empire, and talks about how they were using his cloning technology and all that sort of stuff for dangerous use and all that sort of stuff. And we see that his day-to-day job is basically just taking data cards that look like the same data cards that look like hold the Death Star plans. Well, those kind of same ones, basically Dr. Piercing, and basically throughout this episode, he secretly in his mind is very frustrated that the New Republic doesn't want to at least use some of the Imperial technology, when to use the Imperial technology when it comes to does they don't yeah basically the New Republic don't want to use any of the New Republic any want to use any of the let me repeat that. The New Republic doesn't want to use any of the Empire's tech or equipment and all that sort of stuff. And this is really where the phase of demilitarization in the New Republic, as we've seen, as there's a line drop basically saying that, yeah, basically they're getting rid of Star Destroyers and they're trying to get rid of the Alliance fleet and all that sort of stuff. They're trying to really establish really an order of peace. Basically, you're trying to establish things like they were back before the Clone Wars, basically during the time of the Phantom Menace and all that sort of stuff, which is actually funny how I actually watched the Phantom Menace before this whole episode. It's just kind of because I also wanted to kind of go ahead and talk about how I absolutely love how Star Wars, especially in some of these newer shows, especially I'm not gonna count Kenobi because we barely saw Coruscant, but yeah, we saw a lot of Coruscant in Andor, and also in, of course, here in this episode. Which, man, Coruscant is my favorite planet in Star Wars, and man, does it not look beautiful? Coruscant looks better than ever in the Mandalorian, which is cool in my opinion and all that sort of stuff. So basically, to kind of make I'm not gonna make a long story short. I'll just go into a little bit more detail. But basically, of course, throughout the episode, Dr. Piercing is very frustrated with the New Republic, albeit he's not telling the council droid that he keeps talking to, and all that sort of stuff. As someone who went to counseling a lot of times, it can be annoying, but especially annoying if it comes from a droid. Good lord, they're gonna have robots being counselors now. That is not going to be good. But anyways, though, the big thing that happens in this episode here is that Dr. Piercing encounters one of his co-workers that was on Moff Gideon's Star Destroyer. And if you don't really remember who this character was, this character really was once again, a very minor character in Mando, of course, season 2. She was the Imperial officer that was with Moff Gideon. I forget her name. What is her name? Like, it's not Amelia or anything like that. But basically, though, Dr. Piercing encounters the female Imperial officer that was also in the finale of Mando season 2 as well, and all that sort of stuff. And basically, she once again, and really like Bo-Katan, she really also, too, is a very shady character, and we don't really know what her true purpose is. Basically, this whole season, we really don't know what the intentions are of some of these characters. Well, we know Mando and Dr. Piercing, we know their motives, but we don't know these characters' motives. But basically, what happens here is that like I said before, I really should probably write her name down or something like that. But basically, the ex-Imperial lady, basically, tries to convince Dr. Piercing to try to continue doing his work and all that sort of stuff, and convinces him that, hey, we can go to an old Star Destroyer and we can get some equipment and all that sort of stuff. So, and then Dr. Piercing just blindly just says, oh, yeah, let's go, and all that sort of stuff, and does not even expect a thing and all that sort of stuff. So, basically what happens is that they both head down basically a Star Destroyer that is being dismantled, and all that sort of stuff. And basically, well, it was a trap. Yeah, it was basically a trap. She set Dr. Piercing up, and then what happens here is something that honestly I was taken aback of and honestly is the best part of the whole entire episode, and all that sort of stuff. And that part being that Dr. Piercing is hooked up to this. He's hooked up to basically like a table, like the table Vader was in, like a table that Vader was in. You know, he's hooked onto it, and he has this mind wiper on his head. And basically, the New Republic. This really, basically, what happens here is that they're trying to basically erase his mind and all that sort of stuff. And then you got a Monk House saying, "Oh, it's not anything bad. This is just as long as you don't turn up the temperature or anything, all that sort of stuff. Also, did I tell you it's a trap?" Yeah, basically, while everyone basically leaves the room, of course, the ex-Imperial, well, the ex-Imperial turns up the dial up to 0, and what we can probably assume is that Dr. Piercing probably lost his memory of all his experiments and all that sort of stuff. And while that happens, she quietly just eats a biscuit. Wow, what a bitch. Wow. So yeah, just I mean, that was just really the whole entire episode, really, as a whole. Basically, the first part focused on Mando, while the middle part focused a lot on Dr. Piercing and the New Republic and all the politics that are really behind it. And then at the end, we then show Mando being redeemed and all that sort of stuff, and being accepted back with the children of the Watch and all that sort of stuff. And now I guess, well, now I guess it's now time to answer the big question. Did I like this episode? I did, however, though it wasn't perfect. And I'm going to explain that here right now. So basically, I want to get into the positives here first. First of all, like I said, I really like one thing I really like about this season is that about the season so far is that we just do not know where the series is going to go. We don't really know what the storyline is going to go. Going into the season, we were thinking Mando has to go to the mines of Mandalore. However, though, that happened in the second episode. And then now we've opened the floodgate. We opened the floodgate with the New Republic. And all that sort of stuff. Dr. Piercing, hell, we don't know what's going on with Moff Gideon. We don't know who sent those TIE fighters. A lot of people saying it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, which could lead into Ahsoka and all that sort of stuff, which, I mean, I would kind of like to see that happen and all that sort of stuff. And what else? I mean, yeah, just a lot of stuff about this season. Really, I think we're really gearing up for another pretty good season. And what I really like about this season really so far is that it's not really super over-reliant, of course, on cameos or really and all that sort of stuff, which really was the whole big deal with the second season. That was just its main draw was, yeah, we have all these characters returning or all these characters being introduced and all that sort of stuff. However, though, my main problem with this episode isn't with the fact that we focus on politics or we focus on Dr. Piercing, but kind of the fact that the whole episode was almost about him. Now, this is not as egregious as there being 2 Mando episodes in the Book of Boba Fett, that was just not a great idea. I really want to know what was the writing process John and Dave Filoni were doing in that room. I really wanted to know what were they doing in that room, in that writer's room, and all that sort of stuff. However, though, yeah, like I said, my main problem really is just the simple fact, it's just the simple fact that they kind of focus on Dr. Piercing a little bit too much. And I feel like that for really this season or this series of The Mandalorian, a lot of people came to see Mando and Baby Yoda. However, though, this episode didn't really feature much of them. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way once again, and that is, I don't think this was a bad episode. It just felt really weird. The structure of it felt really weird. I felt like we could have gone back and forth between, Mando and then Dr. Piercing, or if maybe these storylines can tie together. Hell, I was thinking that maybe Mando was going to go to Coruscant, but apparently no, he's probably not even going to go to Coruscant at all, and all that sort of stuff. I do not think this is the worst episode of the season. I think a lot of people, though, are going to say that, but it's really not. It's really not. And besides, there are like 5 more episodes left to go, which is just like, come on, wait until we see those episodes, and then you can make your judgment and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's basically what I have to say. I also feel like that this episode isn't really going to be loved by much people, especially I feel like, I don't know, I'm not really going to use any names here, but basically the consensus online was, especially during Andor, was the fact that people didn't like it because it was boring, there was not much going on, and all that sort of stuff. Basically, people said that Andor was a boring show, which I really do think that a lot of people really just are missing kind of the point, really, when it comes to Andor. Hell, even some of the people I know around me, I know a lot of people that are Star Wars fans like me, well, not diehard, not diehards like me, that probably haven't even watched Andor, and when they probably watch this episode, they're going to think, what the hell is this, and all that sort of stuff. And while I think personally, in my opinion, I really do think that they should probably follow Andor's storyline and all that sort of stuff. Not only that, but also take some notes and all that sort of stuff to base off of how that series should go and all that sort of stuff. And whatnot sort of have you when it comes to filmmaking, when it comes to dialogue and all that sort of stuff, when it comes to, plot lines and whatnot sort of have you. So at the end of the day, I really like this. I like this episode of The Mandalorian. However, though, it had its faults and all that sort of stuff. And hey, regardless if it's like a boring political episode and all that sort of stuff, honestly, I don't really mind that and all that sort of stuff. And actually, one thing though, before I do end this video, I kind of want to talk about 2 things here. Yeah, 2 things here for one quick moment, not 4 things. But basically, this whole episode idea, I saw this thread on Twitter, that I was basically kind of talking about how this episode might have been a retread, or might have been some ideas that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were going to use for the Rangers of the New Republic series. That, of course, got canceled because Gina Carano decided to be an idiot on social media and all that sort of stuff. And I can honestly really see that. Yeah, because honestly, that probably was what the show was going to be about. Rangers of the New Republic was probably going to focus on how the New Republic, was going to focus on the New Republic and all that sort of stuff, and kind of show basically what was their eventual downfall and all that sort of stuff, and whatnot sort of have you. So I can definitely really kind of see that happening. I can really definitely see that was probably what this episode really kind of was, a retread of the Rangers of the New Republic. However, though, of course, they couldn't do it because, of course, once again, just some things just did not happen. And hell, I can probably imagine that Mando season 3 changed probably a lot in its development. Hell, just why do we think that this season came out late that it did? It didn't came out, last year in 2022. Hell, Book of Boba Fett didn't even come out until the ass end of the year in 2021. So I can definitely really see that. And also, one other thing I also do wanted to mention was that I've also seen reports also too that one of the new shows, The Acolyte, one of the newer Star Wars shows that I think a lot of people actually kind of forgot about, is supposed to come out next year, and all that sort of stuff. And each episode will be 1 hour long, and it's supposedly 6 episodes. We'll wait and see how that goes. But yeah, but really, regardless, wow, though, I've really been enjoying these last few weeks of back-to-back Star Wars with, Star Wars The Bad Batch, and of course with The Mandalorian, and all that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, the Bad Batch. Um, that I'm not gonna make a review of that. It's just gonna be a really quick review. So yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm gonna go to bed right now. But anyways, though, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see all of you in the next video.